right, what do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is a mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea! Oh! Oh! My God! No!
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Hi, it's me, Legal Vices, here on my little channel I like to call Legal Vices. How are we all doing today? It is January 2nd here, and it should be January 2nd just about most places. A few places further east, Australia-ish, and perhaps a little bit of New Zealand, maybe into January 3rd. But I hope you all had a great New Year's holiday. If you didn't join me yesterday for our Maritime Monday show. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the court order in the Aguilar-Mendez case. As mentioned, I mean, the spoilers are out there. I mean, this is something we just need to go straight into. The court has found Aguilar-Mendez incompetent to stand trial. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at that order that the court handed down. We're going to be reading through that, talking a little bit about what it means, going through a little bit of that. And then we're going to go back to the police investigation files, because you recall we didn't get all the way through. We got about halfway through it. What I want to do today is go back over some of the police reports regarding the statements that his roommates made, and other things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. And I know we talked about over the weekend, and we talked a little bit about yesterday about doing the latest shenanigans from the defense in the taking care of Maya case, But the hearing is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's when the judge is going to be interviewing at least the juror number one. The defense, part of their shenanigans is they want to bring in, not only do they want to expand the questioning of juror number one, they're trying again to bring in his wife to ask her questions. And they filed a rather large motion yesterday, or no, I guess it was a couple of days ago. Sorry, I think it was last Friday. Anyway, we're going to look at that tomorrow before the hearing. And also the plaintiffs, they submitted a very, very interesting affidavit that we'll be looking at. So that's what's going to be coming up today and tomorrow. Today is Aguilar-Mendez. Tomorrow, before the juror questioning hearing, we will be talking about the new motion from the defense and the new submission from the plaintiffs. So don't miss that tomorrow. Stick with me here today. And because the actual Maya hearing will be taking place at like 5 a.m. my time, we will probably watch that on Friday. Okay, we'll probably catch up with that on Friday. Well, with that little quick tidbit out of the way, let's take care of all the housekeeping details. Then we're going to jump straight into this because we've got a lot to get through here today. Let's see. First things first, I guess we have the like and subscribe poll. The like and subscribe poll today is currently being voted on by 171 people. Well, that's curious. Let's see how many likes we've got. Oh, 155 likes is not too bad. It's not too much of a disparity. There's only about 20 of you that haven't done your job. Get down there real quick and smack that like button, smack that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, please double check to make sure you are still subscribed, because it's been fun. This week has just gone up to it'll start at 65,520, then it'll go down to 10, then up to 20, then up to 10, then up to 20, then back to 10. It's been doing that. It's kind of fun to watch that. So it's subscribing people, and people seem to be subscribing or resubscribing. Just double check and make sure of that. And once you've done that, please take our like and subscribe poll, which we put out here every day, just to give you a little something to remind you to do it. Even I don't do it with other people, other streamers, unless they remind me to hit the like button. So that's what I'm doing. I'm reminding you now. And anybody on replay crew, go ahead. Feel free to give us your opinions on on the poll in chat. Today's like and subscribe poll is, did you remember to like and subscribe? The answers are yes, okay, eating, and taser, taser, taser. Those are your answers. Those are your non sequitur, nonsensical answers to my non sequitur, nonsensical poll. We'll just check back to see how that's going an hour or so from now. Right, so what we're looking at here first. First of all, just to address some things, I've been reading chat. I've been trying to keep my blood pressure down because either people are intentionally trolling or my chat is not nearly as intelligent as I thought they were. Either way, I'm disappointed by something. Again, the whole immigration thing is coming here. Man, you shouldn't be in the country illegally. Otherwise, this never would have happened. Well, if the cop had never been born, if the cop had just not stopped for donuts or whatever else he did that day, if the cop had chosen not to be aggressive, and he goes either way. His immigration status has absolutely zero to do with this. We're not even going to entertain that because it is so irrelevant to anything that's going on. What else? What else were you talking about in chat? For some reason, Bradley Sugars has been on the interview. What he said in the interview. Now, remember, this is the guy who had took the court nearly 5 minutes to get across the point, asking him, can he be understood or not? So when you say all of these questions were given and answered in a police interrogation, remember, he's just been found incompetent to handle such things by the court. So that means this police interview was conducted on an incompetent person who did not understand the language. So there is that to consider. just bear that in mind. Anyone says, oh, in the interview he said this, that, and the other. He was legally declared incompetent, so he was incompetent at the time the interviews were being done as well. And also, I can't wait till the interviews come out. It may be a different discussion when the interviews come out, when the interrogations come out, because remember, it was testified to by 2 of the 3 experts that he's very acquiescent, and if he doesn't understand something, he'll just say yes. So what did you do on this day, or why did you do this? Why did you try to flee? Oh, I was trying not to get deported. Was that how it went down, or was you tried to flee, didn't you? Yes. You did it so you wouldn't be deported, right? Yes. Is he being led through leading questions where his response is just to say yes to questions he doesn't know the answer to? Or is he giving full open-ended answers to open-ended questions? It's all going to come. We're all going to see a little bit more about this, how it comes up. Bradley Sugars, that was through a Spanish interpreter, not a Mayan interpreter. He does not speak that much Spanish, according to everybody that they're talking to. He understands slightly more than he speaks. So yeah, it wasn't with the Mayan dialect, the mom translator. So there we go. Just keep that in mind, and the minute that these interrogation videos become available in public, you better damn well believe we're going to watch them, because I want to see how the questions were put. And that would be quite interesting to see. Let's see how he answers the questions. Until then, though, it really has nothing to do with it. He was incompetent at the time the interviews took place. So until then, we just have to bear in mind his immigration status had nothing. He was legal to be on the street where he was when he was. Because people, if he hadn't been trespassing, guess what? He was never charged with. How do we know the Terry stop was improper? Because he was never charged with any of that. He was never charged with trespassing. He's only been charged with aggravated manslaughter of a law enforcement officer and resisting with violence. Not just your average garden variety resisting arrest with violence. I only saw one person being really violent during I saw 4 people, the cops, being violent during that arrest. Because he was charged with resisting arrest with violence. All we're looking at is the aggravated manslaughter and the resisting arrest with violence charges, and whether he's competent to stand trial. And the court has found him incompetent. And let's look at the reasons. Let's look at how and why he was found to be incompetent. As we go through, again, we'll read super chats and things like that when they come in, because we'll have a lot of time between statements and whatnot. So any of that comes up, we'll just deal with it as it occurs. All righty, let me bring up the The file. Where is the file? It is right here. All right. Let's scroll up to the top here. Just checking out details. All right, we need to make this a little bit smaller. I don't know if is this too small? Is this too small for people? If we just that's way small, isn't it? I am going to stretch it a little bit. There we go. But then my stupid picture's in the way, so that doesn't work either. That works even less. All right, we'll just have to go with mini me today. We'll go with mini me here while we read all of this. Uh-oh, are we back to all white poll again? Meh, boo. All right, here we go. Order adjudicating defendant incompetent to proceed and to receive jail-based competency treatment. This matter came before the court to consider defendant's competency to proceed to trial on December 22nd, 2023. The court, having reviewed the evaluation and testimony of the experts and being otherwise fully apprised of the premises, the court hereby makes the following findings of fact and conclusions of law. The first thing the court is going to set out the facts as it determined them to be. This is a legal finding of factual data or factual information. This is a finding of fact by the court. The defendant received competency evaluations from Roger Davis, PhD, finding defendant competent to proceed, and Yolanda C. Leon, psychiatrist, and all these other stuff, and Yenes Castillo, PhD, finding defendant incompetent to proceed. All three experts testified at the competency hearing held before the court. All three experts are learned and well respected in their fields. Additionally, Mariana Blanco, Assistant Executive Director of the Guatemalan Maya Center based in Palm Beach County, Florida, testified about services that agency could provide to assist with competency-based training, mental health counseling, and education. 2. Based on the report and opinions of examining experts, the court makes the following findings of fact based upon clear and convincing evidence. The following are finding of facts by the court based upon clear and convincing evidence. Defendant is Mayan and grew up in a small village in the mountainous regions of Guatemala. He speaks and understands the Mam language, but also understands some Spanish. He has also learned a limited amount of English language. The village he grew up in did not have a formal system of government. Individuals within his village would take turns acting as auxiliaries to conduct legal proceedings. And that was also something that was testified to during the competency hearing, was that they didn't have a police force. They sort of had the group of elders that would sit around and act as the police there. He has been working as an agricultural laborer picking fruits and vegetables in Guatemala and here in the United States. He sent some of his earnings to his family who still reside in Guatemala. He came to the United States when he was 17 years old and does not have valid immigration status in this country. He is currently being housed in the Volusia County. I'm just going to call it Fallujah because it sounds like let's call it Fallujah County Jail. He's in the Fallujah County Jail. And the United States Department of Homeland Security's Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency will take custody of the defendant if he is released from that facility. So right now, the two options are he stays in the county jail, and if he's released from the county jail, then the immigration folks will take him. ICE will take him into their facility where he was already released from earlier to stay with under the what would you call it? Under the care and responsibility of a distant relative in Florida. Defendant currently has educational, cultural, and linguistic challenges that affect his capacity to proceed to trial. That is a finding of fact by the court. I know it's Volusia, but I'm calling it Fallujah. That's why I said Volusia first. I'm just saying Fallujah because it's a joke. It's comedy. It's dark humor. Defendant currently has educational, cultural, and linguistic challenges. So he doesn't understand languages, Spanish and English, Spanish a little more than English, Definitely big cultural problems. As you saw when they were saying that his understanding of the job of a prosecutor was someone who is trying to help him and that he should obey, which is kind of exactly the opposite of what a prosecutor is. So he has cultural and legal challenges and educational. He ain't the smartest person there. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. As we've already talked about, as they talked about during the competency hearing, he had two machete accidents to the head, and he was hit by a car, all by the time he was 17. Plus, he had the equivalent of a 6th grade education for that area, which is not great. The 3 experts disagree as to whether these challenges can be overcome with training and education. All these challenges affect his capacity to proceed to trial. They all disagree. The 3 experts disagree on whether these challenges can be overcome with training and education. The experts did not find that defendant suffers from a mental illness. All of them, across the board, none of them said he was suffering from a mental illness. There's no psychological problems up here. He's not hearing voices. He's not, the dog's not telling him what to do. He's not suffering from any manic episodes or psychosis or split personality. Nothing. No mental illnesses. Straight across the board. That's one of the few things that all 3 experts could agree on. There was also conflicting testimony regarding intellectual disability, but no formal intellectual disability testing was conducted because there are no appropriate testing instruments available in the mom language. Yeah, so some of them were saying he has intellectual disabilities, learning disabilities, just from his surroundings, genetics, and perhaps the couple of blows to the head with a machete and getting hit by a car. Some or all of these factors may have affected his learning abilities, whereas others were saying he just wasn't trying to take the tests well. The other problem is they can't really test him because they don't have any valid testing in the mom language. Well, SMA Healthcare operates in Fallujah County. In Volusia County. Sorry, I'll stop being so. And they provide full-time services to the Fallujah County Jail. The Guatemalan Mayan Center can assist the SMA with competency-based training in the Fallujah County Jail by providing interpretive and educational and mental health services. So this was the last witness. I believe she was the last witness. She was saying that they're set up to be able to visit him in the jail and interpret for him, provide some education and some mental health services. And defendant does not have sufficient present ability to disclose to his attorney facts pertinent to the proceedings at issue. This is one of the basics of the concept of being competent to stand trial, which again, in a very, very broad umbrella sort of way, is do you understand the nature of the charges against you, the punishments that come with it, and are you able to actively assist your lawyer with your defense? And here they're saying no. The judge has made a finding of fact that the defendant does not have the ability, but he says the present ability. The present ability, that's the key word in this part. The present ability to disclose to his attorney facts pertinent to the proceedings at issue. Defendant does not have appreciation of the charges or allegations. Defendant does not have appreciation of the range and nature of possible penalties. Defendant does not understand the adversary nature of the legal process. Defendant has the capacity to manifest appropriate courtroom behavior. So he's not going all roads and spitting at judges and telling his lawyer he wants to kill him and all these other things. He's very well behaved in court. He just kind of sits there and stares blankly at people. And defendant does not have the capacity to testify relevantly. Those are the findings of fact by the court at the beginning. Now, using those facts, based upon these findings of fact, the court makes the following conclusions of law. Here's the court's legal conclusions based upon the facts that the judge has just said are accepted findings of fact. One, the defendant is incompetent to proceed as defined in Florida Statute 916-12-1. Well, what is that? I guess we need to bring that up. So that is the mental competence. Where are we at here? There we go. That's the mental competency here. Under Title XLVII, Criminal Procedure and Correction, Chapter 916, Mentally Deficient, Mentally Ill Defendant, Mental Competence to Stand Trial. A person is incompetent to stand trial within the meaning of this chapter if the person does not have sufficient present ability to consult with his or her lawyer with a reasonable degree of rational understanding, or if the person has no rational as well as factual understanding of the proceedings against him or her. So they're incompetent if they don't have the ability to consult with their lawyer in a reasonable degree of rational understanding, or they'd have no rational or factual understanding of the proceedings against them. And the court, for the reasons stated in A through M above, has come to this conclusion that under this particular statute here, he is incompetent to stand trial. Let's stop that screen and bring the next one up. Go back here. Based on these finding of facts, the defendant is incompetent to proceed as defined in Florida statutes, and given the immigration status and the hold from the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency, the least restrictive means to conduct competency-based training is to utilize the services provided by SMA at the Volusia County Jail. All right, so let's break that down. He hasn't, given the immigration status and the hold from U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency. So given the fact that if he leaves the Volusia County Jail, he's going straight to the U.S. Immigration and Customs ICE holding facilities, the judge is saying that the least restrictive means to conduct competency-based training. So we're going to talk about this in a little bit later. The goal right now is to it's not even, I don't even think it's a rehabilitation thing. It's to habilitate him, to bring him up to speed, to bring him up to a level of competency. That's everything is shifted away from the trial right now. The trial there's been a gigantic pause button hit on the trial proceeding. So now the focus shifts to making him competent to stand trial. And they're saying the best way to do this is to utilize competency-based training, to train him to become competent by using the services that SMA can provide at the Volusia County Jail. Excuse me while I clear my throat here. So how does this all play out? Well, let's look at the orders here. Now, it is ordered and adjudged that the provisions of Florida criminal procedure, the rules of criminal procedure are hereby suspended. This is the right to a speedy trial. The provisions of the criminal procedure relating to speedy trial are now suspended. And the court hereby retains jurisdiction in this cause pursuant to Florida statutes for entry of any order as may be necessary or appropriate. So the court isn't turning the jurisdiction over to anybody, over to any hospitals, any federal courts, any ICE people. The court is holding on to jurisdiction over the orders and anything else that may need to take place in regard to this case. 3, the defendant is to receive competency restoration at the Volusia County Branch Jail from SMA Healthcare. So yes, this is the part of the order where he is going to stay in the county jail until he can be found competent to stand trial, essentially. And that's going to be who knows? We'll talk about that in a second. Let me talk to Strawberry here real quick. Sorry, had to talk to the dog there for a second. Apologies. Yeah, so he will be staying in the Volusia County Branch Jail, and he will be trained in competency. They will try to bring him to competency through the services of the SMA Healthcare. SMA Healthcare shall coordinate with the Guatemalan Mayan Center and utilize their services to conduct the competency restoration. So he'll be held in the county jail under the SMA Healthcare, and then they're going to bring in the people from the Guatemalan Maya Center and use them to. So he calls it the competency restoration. I don't think he was ever competent. It's not like something happened to him and he became incompetent and they have to restore him. It's just they're going to conduct the competency restoration, I guess. So they have to bring him up to competency. A mom interpreter should be utilized during the competency-based training. So no more Spanish. They're bringing in a mom interpreter. He has to have this mom interpreter during the competency-based training. All services provided shall be kept confidential by any person participating in defendant's competency restoration. Now, within 60 days or at any time, the administrator or their designee from SMA determines defendant has regained competency to proceed, they shall file a report with the court pursuant to the applicable Florida statutes and Florida rules of criminal procedure. All right, so they go, hey, we think he can stand trial now. We can think he can understand the proceedings. So then they tell the court, and then they proceed with the trial. Here's one that I find incredibly interesting. As we talked about, he was never found to have a mental illness. He was never found mentally ill. All three of them across the board, all three of the experts across the board said he does not have a mental illness. Well, this paragraph 6 is interesting. Volusia County Branch Jail or medical designee shall administer physician-prescribed psychiatric medications, and the defendant shall take them as prescribed. Done and ordered in chambers, 29 days of December. But I want to talk about this paragraph 6 a little bit more. I don't know what this means. Because there's two paragraphs that I think could potentially be in conflict here. The one saying he has no mental illness, and two, they're saying they shall administer physician-prescribed psychiatric medication, and the defendant shall take them as prescribed. Now, this can either mean that they are going to administer they are going to administer physician-prescribed psychiatric medication, and he must take it, or it could mean that they will administer the prescribed psychiatric medication if it's actually prescribed by a physician, and then the defendant will take it. So it's not clear from this order. It's not clear from this order whether that means that he's going to have to take psychiatric medicine, even though nobody says he has mental illnesses, or if there ever comes a time when he does become mentally ill, or if there are problems where he begins to show psychiatric difficulties, then they may prescribe the medicine. And if they do prescribe the medicine, then he must take it. I don't know what that means, but it's weirdly vague. It doesn't sit well with me, but again, it could also just be boilerplate stuff that should have been taken off that wasn't. It's just like in a form letter. And, like they don't type these orders from beginning to end every single time. It's boilerplate stuff. A lot of times they just fill in the blanks. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a holdover or which of those two possibilities it means. If I ever get any clarity whatsoever on that, y'all will be the first to know. So let's close this window here for a quick second. Excuse me while I cough. Everybody in my office is sick, and I just got done with laryngitis. Now I'm got a tickly throat that started yesterday. So thanks, office people. Well, we have this guy that's locked up in the county jail indefinitely. Now, my understanding, and I'll have to look more into it to figure out what's happening exactly, but my understanding is this essentially stops everything for at least 6 months. this is just from what I've been able to read and what I've been able to find from this, that it essentially means everything is stopped for 6 months. And then 6 months from now, there will be another hearing to check on competency, to see if progress is being made or whatnot. And it will go in these 6-month blocks unless they're told otherwise, according to paragraph 5, that somehow at some point he becomes competent. So essentially, and I hate to use the word dumb, but let's say I don't know, he doesn't understand. He's dumb. He's not a smart dude apparently, and so it seems like they're going to potentially keep him in the county jail until he stops being dumb and either learns English fluently and gains an education of the U.S. justice system. Gains cultural knowledge to be able to understand the adversarial nature of this. This seems like a whole bunch of work here that could take years and years and years. And if he is intellectually challenged, it may never resolve. And so I'm trying to find is how long can this theoretically go on? I mean, it seems like they shouldn't just be allowed to keep them there essentially forever on 6 months increments, like 20 years down the line going, nope, he still hasn't learned his ABCs. He still doesn't understand this. So this is a basic deal, but basically my understanding is everything is frozen for at least the next 6 months while they try to make him understand everything, while they try to educate him. Well, before we move on, talk about this and other things, let's go through the super chats that have collected here. Sorry for the delay, folks. The DCV Titan, thank you so much. To be fair, I don't have any appreciation of the charges either, though for entirely different reason. Okay. I don't know what that reason might be, but okay. Thank you for your support. Much appreciated. And that dog in him, thank you so much for your support too. This seems exceedingly excessive to try a man who managed to kill an unhealthy a-ho of a cop as a Floridian. Fuck all this. Well, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I would, yeah, you don't think he killed the cop? The cop just happened to be the wrong place to drop dead. And see, here's my deal with that. I mean, this is just my personal rant. Okay, let's say the cop is on top of him, and as you heard him, if you saw the body cam videos, you heard the cop do this thing. Let's say he puts the handcuffs on him and drops dead right on top of Aguilar-Mendez's back. Is there a causal link? If you say yes, okay, let's do this. Okay, 30 seconds later, he's walking away to open a car door and he drops dead. Is that still linked? What about 2 or 3 minutes later, like this? Okay, suppose he'd got off his vest, he'd had some water, he sat in his car, he started to drive back to the station, and 10 minutes later, he peace outs. Where do you draw this line between what happened at the arrest location and this alleged connection? Now, see, here, the standard again for aggravated manslaughter is that the defendant is that Aguilar-Mendez had to know or should reasonably have known that his actions in resisting the arrest would have led to the death of the officer. At what point is it reasonable to go, okay, all right, it's not reasonable to think he should have known it was going to cause the death of a cop? Where is that instant? It's aggravating to me. I don't want to go off on too big of a rant because we still have a lot to cover here. But that's a little twingy insight into the rant that's going on in my skull right now. Just keep it in the noggin for now. It'll probably come out later. And Marv White, thank you so much for your support, brother. 6 seems like a copy paste for an incompetency. Yeah. See, I mean, it could be. It just could be something that was left there from a mental illness incompetency. I just don't know, and I want to get to the bottom of this. Something we need to find out what this all means, and we'll work on it. And Aaron Hack, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Deeply, deeply appreciate your support and kindness as well. Can the judge dismiss the charges while it is in this stage? If found incompetent for trial, can the judge dismiss because he was not competent to understand the cops at the time? Unfortunately, no. And that I don't know how far Florida takes this, because you could argue that there are no legal actions can be taken until he's competent, which could include a motion to dismiss. If he's not competent to participate in any legal proceedings, that is also him being incompetent to understand a motion to dismiss. And the judge isn't going to just unilaterally dismiss the charges and send him on his way. At this point, there hasn't been any evidence you're hearing or whatnot. He's just been found incompetent to stand trial, and the direct result of that is you undergo counseling, training, therapy, or whatever it takes to get you competent, and then you start the legal proceeding. I just don't know how far Florida takes this. And that dog in him, his psychological state isn't in question. WTF? That's why we don't know. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that this paragraph 6 is just a leftover from the wording of a mentally incompetent order. It just wasn't deleted from this. The DCV Titan with the $2 Canadian. Thank you so much. The reason is Officer Porkins dying was unrelated. Well, I tend to wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, if you're at 52 years old, that's 2 years younger than me, and you're in ridiculously worse condition than I am. That's pretty sad. That dog in him, thank you so much again. By the way, I believe the cop died due to divine justice well before the kid did. Vince Clortho. How you doing, Vince Clortho? Chandler Remington and I were just watching Ghostbusters yesterday. Sounds like a civil case for him. Oh, there's civil workings afoot, and in fact, I'm trying to get in touch with his civil lawyer, because I would really like to talk to him. And Brick Cormier, thank you so much for your $10. To answer your earlier question, the legacy media logic says it could be days later. January 8th and 9th, police officers who stopped living were blamed on the events of the we can't talk about that here. I can't finish that sentence. But thank you so much for that. So, all right, the criminal proceedings, for all intents and purposes, we can say, as far as I understand it, are going to be on hold for at least the next 6 months. But in the meantime, I said I'm going to try to get a hold of I'm going to try to get in touch with the civil lawyer. I'm going to try to get some answers to things like paragraph 6 and how long this can go on, et cetera, et cetera. Until then, we'll just have to stay tuned here. But food for thought in the meantime, because I don't want to end the stream after 40 minutes. I thought we'd go back and continue reading the police arrest reports, the sheriff's office investigation report. We read a lot of the reports from the officers. We pointed out some conflicts and things that were involved in their statements, but I want to do a little bit more of something different today. Go back and finish reading those, but focus a little bit more on the questions that were asked of the roommate, the people that were sharing the motel room with him. Bradley Sugars, we've again we're reading this, but again, remember, he was legally incompetent to answer these questions when he was answering questions by the police, and we don't know how they were done. So the interview stuff, all we know is what's been told, and that he's gone through 3 layers of police bullshittery at least. So let's go on through here and pick up where we left off, shall we? All right. Let's see. We're going to bring this up again. I closed the window. Now I have to bring it up. Let me click that and big in that. Ooh, we just don't. All right, stop. Okay, there we go. Small. No, that's as embiggened as we get. So this is a new officer here. This is the reporting officer, Jared Carter. His rank is Le Député. So I thought that was funny. I don't know if you thought that was funny or not, but I thought that was funny. Yes, Bradley Sugars, there is an amazing amount that we don't know yet. All we know is he's incompetent to stand trial and was therefore incompetent to be answering these questions. If you go back to the experts' witnesses, they said he was completely oblivious of the meaning of the Miranda rights that were read to him. Anyway, let's get on with this. On Friday, May 19th, 2023, I responded to the Super 8 motel. This is where Aguilar-Mendez was staying. Located at this address, per radio traffic, deputies were fighting with an uncooperative subject. Upon arrival, I observed Sergeant Michael Kunovich, the deceased officer, obtaining first aid treatment from fire rescue. A short time later, I saw Kunovich collapse, at which point fire rescue began administering life-saving measures. I assisted Deputy Mathis Alves in speaking with the detained subject, Aguilar-Mendez, and learned he was staying at the motel in room 232. Deputy Brian Armenta, Deputy Alves, and I responded to room 232 and made contact with a guy named Perez and a guy named Gonzalez and another guy named Gonzalez. Deputy Alves conducted an interview with them in Spanish. And for further information, refer to Deputy Alves' body-worn camera recording. Oh, I would love to see Deputy Alves' body-worn camera recording. Please let us see it. Deputy Alves and I maintained room security until relieved. My body-worn camera was active during this incident. For further information, refer to the recorded footage. Oh, please put it out there. Let us see it. On May 5, this is Officer Michael Smith. On May 5, 2023, I overheard radio traffic from Michael Kunovich checking out with a suspicious person at the Super 8 motel, and shortly after he requested emergency traffic. Several patrol units responded, and once on scene, advised Kunovich was fighting with the subject. I responded to the scene. However, before I arrived, the subject had been secured, and fire rescue was at the scene. When I arrived on scene, Kunovich was talking with fire rescue personnel, and the subject was secured, sitting in the back of a patrol vehicle. So he survived long enough to get the kid off the ground, to get him over to the patrol car, to put him in the patrol car, to walk back to the back of the car, to take off his utility stuff, to talk to fire and rescue people. And I began talking with deputies on scene about what took place. Deputy Harrell advised he was looking for a knife the subject had during the struggle with Kunovich. I began to help look for the knife, which was located moments later by Deputy Harrell. Now, remember, it was Deputy Harrell that said he took the knife out of the kid's hand. He was the one that said, he was handcuffed, and with his handcuffs on, he managed to reach around to his front left pocket, pull out his pocket knife, and was attempting to open it while his hands were handcuffed behind his back and stab the officers with it. Well, if he took it away from him, then how come he didn't know where it was? Just a question. That's just a question I have. Just a little question. Harold advised he was looking for a knife the subject had during the struggle. He didn't have it during the struggle. They were testifying that he had it after the struggle was over when he was handcuffed. Anyway, a little bit inconsistency there. I began to help look for the knife, which was located moments later by Deputy Harrell. I turned around to talk with Sergeant Kunovich and observed him collapse and fall to the ground. Okay, so here you have an officer saying that Kunovich survived long enough to struggle, handcuff, get the kid in the car, walk back, get first aid, talk to the fire and rescue people, take off his vest, and this reporting officer had time to go help Errol search for the knife. They find the knife, and then Kunovich. So the time frame is getting longer and longer and longer here between the struggle and the death of the police officer. I initially thought Kunovich might have been exposed to fentanyl and instructed fire rescue personnel to administer Narcan. Fire rescue administered 2 doses of Narcan. 2 doses of Narcan? What? And moments later, oh, wait, whoa. And moments later, after giving 2 doses of Narcan to someone who didn't need it, moments after doing that, there was no pulse and began life-saving measures. Now, in fairness, the idea behind Narcan is it should only affect you if you have been exposed to opioids. It triggers some sensors in the brain or whatnot, and the fentanyl or the fentanyl or whatever other opioids are there. The Narcan does something to disconnect those sensors. And if you have an opioid overdose, it can cause heart rate, increased heart rate. There are risks of that, of heart attack and whatnot, but it's theoretically not supposed to do anything. It's supposedly it's supposed to not have any side effects if you haven't been exposed to opiates, but it's not guaranteed. If you look at all the research, at least all the research I managed to find over the past week or so, all across the board, they use the same vague language. Using Narcan on a suspected overdose where it turns out they actually weren't exposed should generally have no side effects. It should generally be safe. It should usually pose no problems. But there still are, you can't rule, basically there was nothing that ruled out the possibility that you could still suffer from cardiac damage, shortness of breath, and again, this guy already had arrhythmia, he already had an irregular heartbeat. And that's one of the side effects that Narcan can have on someone who's been exposed to opiates is it can cause an arrhythmia of the heart. It can cause a heart attack. It can go. We can't rule out the possibility. So here's a guy who just rolls up, doesn't know a goddamn thing about what happened. He just rolls up and sees a kid in the car and watches him drop and goes, "Oh my God, medical people, I'm a cop that just happened to be here, and I think he might have been exposed to fentanyl. Narcan him up." Not moments after he struggled, he dropped dead. Moments after he was given 2 unnecessary doses of Narcan, did this cop with high blood pressure, a hardening of the arteries, clogged arteries, an irregular heartbeat, bronchitis, and apparently some bowel problems and back pain, drop dead. Just saying. It's weird that he seemed to be doing okay until he was given the Narcan. And reading through this is the first time I noticed it was 2 doses. From what it said earlier, it was only 1 dose. Bradley, you got to play along. I'm not falling for stupid trolling comments. That's a stupid trolling comment. Go back and find anything where I said we can't rule out as the new standard law. Go back. I'll give you $1,000 if you can find anything that remotely says I said that is the new standard. I'm saying it needs to be looked into. That's all I said. So just it's not the time. It's not the place. Be silly. Be devil's advocate. Play whatever you want, but don't be a dumbass. I mean, really, seriously. Just there's no point in it. Other than if you want to watch me get riled up, and I just get riled up once and then I sort of write you off. That's just a dumb thing to say. And hey, I like being devil's advocate. I like saying things for shock effect. But you were saying shit for shock effect like 30 minutes before we even started. So at least for the last hour and a half. It gets old. I'm just saying it gets old. Do better. Bring a better game than that. Anyway, that's all. That's all. I'm done engaging with the silliness. No, don't block him. No, don't block him. Don't block him. There's no reason to block him. I've just mentally blocked him. Okay, good. He hasn't been blocked. There we go. I didn't want him to be blocked. Last comment. Do you agree we can't rule out Aguilar-Mendez caused the cop's death? We can't. That's what the trial's for. But it should never have gone to a trial because it never should have happened in the first place. Everything, I think, is completely on the officer. That's what we're here for. It was a bullshit stop, a bullshit arrest, and everything after that was brought on by the cop. But see, again, one thing to note is it's not the question of whether or not he caused the cop's death. That's not the standard. That's not the standard whether he caused the cop's death. The standard is whether he knew that his actions of resisting arrest would cause the death of the police officer, or whether he should have known, whether he reasonably should have known that the actions he did at that point in time would result in the death of that specific police officer. That's the standard. Not whether it actually did, is whether he knew or reasonably should have known that whatever he did by laying there on the ground and screaming and trying to stand up and avoid being tased would reasonably lead to the death of the police officer. That's the standard in an aggravated murder, an aggravated manslaughter case. So make sure you're looking at the right things. Not whether or not he had anything to do with it, not whether or not it was causally related. Is did he know that his actions would have done it, or should he reasonably have known that his actions would have resulted in the officer's death? And with that, let's get back to this. We won't waste any more time with that. I turned around to talk with Sergeant Kunovich and observed him collapse and fall to the ground. 2 doses of Narcan. Moments later, Sergeant Kunovich did not have a pulse and began life-saving measures. I notified Captain Robert Dean of the incident, who later responded to the scene. I also instructed deputies to go to the suspect's motel room and identify anyone inside. I was later notified that 3 individuals were located inside the room. I requested the deputies to stay with the 3 individuals and the motel room until detectives arrived on scene. I escorted fire and rescue and Kunovich to Flagler Hospital. With the help from deputies in South Region, deputies shut down several intersections to help with travel time, but unfortunately, Kunovich was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Major crimes and several members of the executive staff, to include Sheriff Robert Hardwick, responded to Flagler Hospital. For additional details, please review body cam. I want to review all the body cam footage. I want to watch all of the interrogation videos of everybody that had anything to do with this. I want to see all of it, and I want to see all of it now. Nicholas Rockwell, reporting officer. Friday, May 19th, 2023. Notified of the scene at approximately 22:34 hours. Arrived on scene approximately 23:12 hours. So he's there 45 minutes after the shit went down. At the request of crime scene supervisor Stephanie Whittington, I responded to the Super 8 motel in reference to a death investigation. Upon my arrival, I met with Captain Ryan Smith, Manager Angela Hosford, Sergeant James Jackson, Sergeant Michael Pate, Detective John Newman. I observed crime scene tapes surrounding the Super 8 parking lot. I conducted a walkthrough of the scene with Manager Hosford. The scene consisted of a grassy area in the parking lot area southwest of Super 8 Motel. I photographed and documented the scene. I observed St. John's County Sheriff's Office patrol vehicle facing 2021 facing northeast, parked in the parking lot south of Super 8. It was parked and the engine running and the key in the ignition. The engine's running for 45 minutes. Hey, officer friendly, global warming, turn it off. A cell phone was observed in a dashboard mount and will be submitted by Manager A. Hosford. What? That doesn't make sense. I'm assuming Manager Angela Hosford is not the Super 8 motel manager. I'm assuming it's some sort of police manager, because that would be weird for the hotel manager to submit the cell phone that was mounted to the dashboard of Kunovich's car. I'm assuming that the sheriff's office there has some little person called a manager. All right. We'll just assume that, because otherwise it makes no sense. Right. I observed a water bottle on the sidewalk west of the grassy area, a brown paper bag partially on the sidewalk, glasses in the grassy area, and a drink bottle on the sidewalk north of the grassy area. The brown paper bag contained a pair of shoes, a cell phone, and a folding knife. Kunovich's agency-issued equipment was collected on scene to be returned to the agency. Description and location of evidence collected. A Zephyrillah's water bottle located on the sidewalk. pair of black slide shoes located in the brown paper bag. Those were the ones that Aguilar-Mendez was wearing. Android cell phone located in the brown paper bag. A silver black smart knife folding knife located in the brown paper bag. Glasses located in the grassy knoll. Twister drink bottle located on the sidewalk. Photo disc containing 164 digital images of the scene and evidence. Departed at approximately 30 hours. How long was he there? He wasn't there very long at all. Okay, so he was there about an hour and 15 minutes. I guess he was there for a decent amount of time. Remarks. All items collected have been submitted to evidence, and any additional analysis processing will be subject to a separate report. Michael J. Pate, he was on the scene. Well, they Nonstop Mom, they put the knife in the bag. They collected it and they put it in the bag. The brown paper bag is sort of like an evidence bag that they use to collect things in. But never mind. I won't get off on that tangent. I was about to go off on a silly tangent. I'll just keep my mouth shut, and we'll continue with our little read along here. Oh, but before we do that, let's pop on over here and take care of these super chats that have been piling up. Lowlands Angie, what's up? New member. Lowlands Angie is now the newest member of the Clean and Sober crew. Thank you so much. Deeply, deeply appreciated. Thank you for the support. Thank you for joining. And Torin 3, random skin exposure to fentanyl causing an overdose or even a dose is a pernicious myth. Well, it was believed enough to get the Officer Kunovich blasted twice with Narcan, even though there was no evidence there was even fentanyl there, let alone whether there was any contact or whether there was any overdose. So yeah, and Torin 3, by the way, your braid work that you sent, along with everything else that's been sent from the States, is scheduled to arrive by this Friday. So Saturday we might have an unboxing video. So I can't wait to see what you've sent. Thank you so much, by the way. Vince Chlortho with $2 super chat. Thank you so much. They're going to teach him why he's guilty, right? No. This is the people from the Guatemalan Mayan Health Assistance Center. They just need to teach him English, maybe a little Spanish, about how the process works, the American judicial system, cultural aspects, the adversarial nature of the system, et cetera. Teach him different ways of thinking and speaking. Should be okay. So stupid. The situation is entirely distasteful. Michael J. Pate. Again, thank you everyone for your support. You gonna show us what's in the box? On May 19th, approximately 21:05 hours, heard Michael Kunovich check out over the radio with a suspicious person at Super 8 Motel. I heard Kunovich request backup, and within a minute, I heard Gavin Higgins state he was on scene. I heard Higgins immediately request urgent traffic. However, communication did not hear him. Higgins requested urgent traffic again and stated something along the lines of he's still fighting. I responded to the scene from the area of West King Street and Duval Street. I arrived on the scene. I was advised the suspect had been secured and was placed in the back of Deputy Armenta's patrol car. I observed fire and rescue personnel treating Kunovich near a patrol car. Once Kunovich collapsed to the ground, fire rescue personnel immediately began treating him. Lieutenant Michael Smith had arrived on scene, and I advised him of what had occurred. Due to medical professionals being on scene, I stayed in the area, but out of their way, and monitored Kunovich's status. Fire rescue personnel provided life-saving measures to include deploying Narcan, I mentioned one there, CPR, and other medical procedures in an attempt to stabilize him. Okay, so there are medical professionals on scene, so let's take our medical direction from some cop that just rolls up after everything's over. I was advised fire rescue be transporting Kunovich to Flagler Hospital. I directed Corporal Miller to assist with getting units, as well as contacting the South Supervisor to have units set up for roadblocks for the ambulances that would be heading towards Flagler Hospital. Smith advised Major Crimes Unit had been notified and was en route to the scene. The area where Kunovich collapsed and where the suspect had been secured was roped off with crime scene tape. It was learned the suspect had been possibly staying at the motel in room 232. What, you mean the key that says Super 8 Motel 232? That wasn't enough. That wasn't enough for you to conclude that he actually was staying there. Yeah. Duh. It was learned the suspect had possibly been staying in the motel in room 232 along with 3 other individuals. I directed deputies to stand by room 232 until further advised. Once major crime detectives arrived on scene, I briefed them on everything that occurred and remained on scene until I was relieved by Lieutenant Jessica Hines. Once I was relieved from the scene, I responded to Flagler Hospital to meet with Lieutenant Smith. I assisted major crimes in downloading body camera. This concludes my investigation. Stephanie Whittington has also arrived on scene, but not before 2 super chats arrived on scene. The DCV Titan with a $5. Thank you so much. By that dumb standard, every architect best pray because they should have known that Porkins could and would have a heart attack going upstairs. I like the absurdity of arguments when you take things to levels of absurdity. I like that because it shows the flaw. Where do you draw the line? Go to the absurd end, and then walk back until it seems reasonable. I like that. Adara the Wholesome, thank you so much. Predatory DA, drop case, directed verdict, thoughts. Well, directed verdict, I mean, that could be years down the line. There's so much that has to happen. And nothing is going to happen for at least 6 months, the way I understand it. A cop died and they want to pin it on somebody. Whether it deserves to be on him or not is something that needs to be seen. I think not. Anyway. Yeah, we've been arguing about this for about an hour, so go back and check it out. The charges should never have been brought. It was a terrible, terrible accident brought upon by some really bad life choices by the police officer, including having all of these things and not seeing a physician about any of them, not taking any medication for them, which has all been stated earlier in these police reports by his girlfriend. Wasn't being treated for anything, wasn't seeing the doctor for anything. He never should have talked to him in the first place. If he did talk to him, it should have been over as soon as he said, I'm eating and I'm staying in that hotel. That should have been, all right, thank you, have a nice day. There's no question this thing should have stopped before the officer touched the guy's pocket and tried to pat him down. That was absolutely, as far as any way I can possibly see, an illegal Terry stop. But anywho, at the request of manager Angela Hosford, I responded to the 400 Flagler Hospital emergency room. Okay, so she's gone to the emergency room. Stephanie has. In reference to the in the line of duty death investigation, Sergeant Michael Kunovich. Upon my arrival, I met with Detective Mark Kapelka and medical examiner forensic investigator Kent Holloway. I observed the Sergeant M. Kunovich in the bed of room 12. I photographed Kunovich and injuries I observed on his head, right eye, right wrist, left hand, right knee, and left leg. Yeah, well, we'll let y'all just make your own conclusions as to how he got all of these injuries. Whether it was from the little 4'5", what was he, 115 pounds? I mean, sorry, 5'4". I think he was like 115 pounds. A kid laying on the ground being tased 7 times, or from like 4 really large officers jumping on him. Yeah, we'll let y'all decide where you think those injuries came from. I also collected his clothing, 2 shirts, a pair of pants, a belt, a pair of socks, and a pair of shoes. Departed the scene, came back to the scene on Saturday, arrived about 200 hours. Bradley, again, that's kind of what happened. The cop says, stop. He said, so I'm sorry. So why did you walk away? He says, eating. He said, where are you staying? He said, over there. So you're staying over there? Yeah, that was in the body cam footage. That is in the reports. That is how it all started. And then he's like, why are you walking away from me? Don't resist. Don't pull away. And then they jumped on him. He should never have touched the kid. So that is what happened. He said, eating. And then he pointed, maybe in the other way around. It's like, where are you staying? over there. And then the cops started being smart at. The cops started being the smarts. Well, why are you eating outside, or why aren't you eating there? None of your fucking business is the answer to that one, but that never gets you anywhere. So don't say that to the cops. Think it really loudly, but not saying don't answer the questions, but don't touch the cops. But anyway, that's how it went down. Well, go back and watch it, because that's what happened. The cop says stop, and he takes like one step, kind of a pacing. He's like, why are you walking away or something? Where are you? What are you doing here? And he's like, you're staying over there. And he's like, eating. That's how it all started. And then the question was, well, why aren't you eating inside, or why are you eating here? Was one of those questions. That's how it started. So that's already been taken care of. I responded to the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office conference room in reference to photographing 4 deputies involved in the incident. Deputy Tyler, Harold, Armenta, Montgomery, and Higgins. I photographed all 4 deputies and an injury to Higgins' left elbow. Departed 2:20. Arrived again at approximately 2:45. I responded to the Criminal Investigations Division in Room 2 in reference to collecting evidence and reference standards from a subject identified to me as Aguilar-Mendez. So by now he's in the police station. I collected photographs of DNA buccal swab, fingernail scrapings, major case prints, and his clothing. I observed injuries to his lower back, upper right back, right mid back, right upper thigh, which were photographed. Departed at approximately 3:20 hours. At approximately 3:45 hours, I turned over M. Kunovich's wallet to Detective John Newman. I removed his SJSO issued badge, identification card, purchase card. This is kind of boring. We don't need to know all this shit here. Kunovich, 50 images of him in the hospital, 38 images of his clothing, lots and lots of pictures. And if this ever goes to trial, we're gonna have to sit through all of the photographs being introduced. Let's see, scroll. Yeah, Bradley, it may be reasonable to wonder why he'd be eating in the parking lot if he was residing in the hotel, but it's none of the cops' business why he's eating there. As long as he's not suspected of a crime, engaged in a crime, or suspected of immediately committing a crime. It's none of the cops' business why he's sitting there on a beautiful balmy May evening in Florida, talking to his mother on the cell phone outside at night while eating something. It's none of the cops' business why he's not eating inside. I was direct. Okay, this is Officer Sean C. Adams. Sean C. Adams says, I was directed to respond to the Super 8 Hotel in reference to an incident involving the death of Sergeant Michael Kunovich. At approximately 23:04 hours, I arrived at the Super 8 Super 8 Hotel, and was directed to take Kunovich's body-worn camera to the field office, so he was in charge of collecting. I met with the manager of the Super 8 to obtain video surveillance. The manager, Gordon Chuck, stated he was able to download the video footage and require assistance. I attempted to utilize the system. However, I was unable to download any footage. Gordon provided me his phone number. We don't need to see that. I conducted digital forensics and spoke with Corporal Kevin Green in reference to the obtaining of the video footage. It turns out, by the way, apparently from what the reports say, the Super 8 video was kind of unhelpful. Jose Jimenez. Okay, now we're getting into the interviews, the interview summaries with the people in the room. Captain Ryan Smith directed me to respond to the Super 8 motel in reference to an officer-involved incident. Captain Smith advised that Kunovich made contact with suspicious individual location. A struggle ensued, and shortly after the individual was secured by Kunovich and other assisting deputies, Kunovich collapsed and was transported to the hospital unconscious with a very poor prognosis. A short time later, I made contact with Jackson and directed him to respond to the scene along with on-call Major Crimes Unit detectives. Get there about 10:30. I arrived on scene, met with Captain Smith, who provided additional information regarding the incident. Sergeant Kunovich made contact with a suspicious individual who had later been identified as Aguilar-Mendez. During contact, Virgilio was, it's Virgilio. I remember what she said, pronounced Virgilio, which I always thought the hard G was interesting. Virgilio was not following commands given by Sergeant Kunovich at the time. Well, that's like hearsay upon hearsay. At which time, Sergeant Kunovich grabbed Virgilio and attempted to pat him down illegally. Virgilio resisted, attempted to take off running, but Kunovich was unable to maintain a hold of Virgilio. Damn it, I have to go back and watch it. Now I think it's Virgilio. Because that's what it was. His name is apparently pronounced Virgilio, which I thought was like really odd because it's a J that's pronounced in Spanish. So, anywho, he was transported to the hospital. Okay, once Virgilio was subdued, Kunovich collapsed, was transported to the hospital. Smith advised Kunovich had been pronounced deceased. Flagler Hospital. Smith also advised there were 3 other Spanish-speaking individuals who were staying with Virgilio in room 232 of the hotel. However, these individuals were not present when the incident occurred. A short time later, Captain Smith and I met with Sergeant James Jackson, evidence manager. Evidence manager. Now we know she's the manager of evidence. That's good. Evidence manager Angela Hosford, Detective John Newman, Detective Sean Adams, and provided them with a brief of the incident as well as the scene. Please refer to their reports for further details. Okay, they made contact at 2313. They made contact with 3 individuals located in room 232. These individuals were identified as Roblero, Perez, Gonzalez Ortega, and Gonzalez Ortega. Another brothers, I guess. It could be brothers, 4 years apart. At approximately 23:14 hours, I conducted a sworn audio video record interview with Perez. The following is a synopsis of Perez's statements during the interview. It should be noted the interview was conducted in Spanish due to him being Spanish speaking and not understanding conversational English. For a complete and detailed account of his statements, please refer to the record stored in Axon Evidence. So here's an officer. This is officer, again, what was the officer's name? Jimenez, summarizing the interview with one of the housemates, one of the roommates. He said he met Virgilio approximately 2 or 3 weeks ago in Florida, in Immokalee, in Florida, which is approximately 40 minutes from Fort Myers. Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. I wasn't looking at the screen. Thank you very much for pointing that out. All right. Okay, they're approximately 40 miles from Fort Myers. The group stated the group worked in the country at farms picking bell peppers. Virgilio approached him asking about work while working on the farm. Virgilio tagged along with him to work and traveled with him to St. Augustine. He stated he knew Virgilio by the nickname Greñas. I wonder what that means. I have no idea what that means. Stated he tried to be discreet and not ask him for a real name because some people get upset. However, people in the area call him Virgilio. He stated the group arrived to St. Augustine approximately a week ago, the previous May 12th. Provided the address of the farm. Stated they began working on the farm on Sunday, May 14th. The farm was later identified as Parker Farms. He stated he didn't have any information about Virgilio's relatives, where he was staying, or anyone related to him. He stated this morning the group began working at around 600 hours and arrived back at the hotel around 500 hours. Stated the group arrived at the hotel together in the same vehicle, went to the room, each took a shower, and he laid on the bed, spoke to his family on the cell phone, and fell asleep. He stated the other 2 individuals in the room are his cousins. Okay, so I guess they are brothers. His cousins, and once he woke up, one of them told him Virgilio was not in the room. He stated he did not see what time Virgilio left the room, but it was around 200 hours, when his cousin told him Virgilio was not in the room. He stated he had never seen Virgilio using any type of drugs in the room or while in his presence, but does not know if Virgilio uses drugs when he leaves the room. He said he'd never seen Virgilio become violent and described him as a very calm individual. Virgilio never talked about his family. Virgilio does not speak Spanish well and indicated he spoke another dialect. Maybe that should have been taken into account when they interrogate him. Well, I cannot wait to see these interrogation videos. Can't wait to see them. When Virgilio speaks to his family, he speaks in a dialect he did not understand. He stated he has never seen Virgilio drink alcoholic beverages. Virgilio slept on the floor in the room. Virgilio's clothing and lunchbox were in the room. He had not seen Virgilio with any other property other than his clothing and lunchbox. So there we go. We have people saying calm, doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink. Well, never seen them do drugs, never seen him drink. He doesn't speak Spanish well at all. Well, there you go. And then this is Angel Gonzalez Ortega, the interview with him. Following is a synopsis. He's a Spanish speaker, so it's done in Spanish. He's identified by his Mexican identification card. He didn't have a specific address due to being with his cousin. Stated he moves around as a seasonal farmer and does not currently have a steady home. He's only been in the area for a week, and when he arrived, he met Virgilio. Said he only knew Virgilio as Grenas. Said he arrived in St. Augustine on Saturday, May 13th from Lake City. He was picked up in Lake City by his cousin. And he and his cousin were already staying at the hotel when he arrived. Oh, his cousin was already staying at the hotel when he arrived in St. Augustine. And his older brother, the other guy. And him and his older brother, come on, cops, learn to use commas. What the hell? Was there 4 people or 5 people in this room? I guess there was 5 people in the room. 1, 2, 3. I hate people that can't use punctuation. Victor left early in the morning. He met Virgilio last Saturday and has not spoken to him much because Virgilio does not understand Spanish that much. There's another one saying he doesn't speak Spanish. Virgilio is from Guatemala and doesn't know what dialect he speaks. On one occasion, he asked Virgilio for his name, and Virgilio told him his name was Edgar. However, Victor overheard the conversation and asked Virgilio, "Isn't your name Virgilio?" This caused him to doubt Virgilio. Okay. He stated he began to work on the farm on Sunday. During the time he interacted with Virgilio, had never seen him become violent. He was surprised when he noticed that Virgilio was not in the room and told his cousin. The group started working today between 6:30 and 700 hours. It was a normal day at work and believed the group would arrive back home around 1,700 hours. All right. 1,900 hours, sorry. Once in the room, each of them took a shower. However, he didn't notice that Virgilio took a shower. He noticed Virgilio was not in the room around 1:15. He said he didn't think anything about Virgilio being gone as he normally leaves the room to go to the store to buy food. He was unable to point out which of the stores Virgilio frequented. He stated he had not seen Virgilio use drugs, acting strange, or anything along those lines. He said Virgilio is very quiet and believes Virgilio ignored them because he doesn't understand what he and the others are talking about. There again, emphasizing he doesn't talk to them because they don't communicate. So for those of you that are doubting and thinking this is a big charade, here's the people he's living with going, yeah, he just doesn't understand us and we don't understand him and he doesn't talk to us much. Virgilio normally leaves the room for approximately 30 to 40 minutes and returns with food to eat. He didn't notice the time Virgilio left the room and he doesn't know much about Virgilio. And then he conducts the interview with his brother. We'll call him Conan. Conan Gonzalez Ortega. Again, it was all in Spanish. He was identified by his Mexican identification card and advised he'd been living with his cousin. He met Virgilio approximately 15 days ago, and Virgilio has been working with the group for approximately 2 weeks. He met him at Plant City, Florida. While conversing, he explained there are different groups of individuals working the farms. And while conversing, Virgilio expressed interest in working with this group, which included these other 3. He stated they all work with an individual who is the boss and the one that gets the work for the group at the farms. Okay. See, Virgilio is a quiet and calm individual who understood a little Spanish and speaks a dialect. He was not able to carry on a conversation with Virgilio. Yep. There we go. The third person who said that they can't carry on a conversation with him. Yes, David Nelson, he speaks Momni Mayan dialect. That's the crux of all of this problem here. Hey, Megan Fox, what's up? Okay, where to go? Okay. He understood little Spanish, speaks a dialect, not able to carry on a conversation with him. So they're not able to carry on a conversation with him, but the police officers are somehow magically able to carry on an informed waiver of Miranda rights and an in-depth questioning about what happened. See, this is where the flag should start going off. This is where the light should be flashing, the big red flags waving, and you start to have a little bit of skepticism about the cops and their reporting and their ability to effectively handle situations like this. Never seen Virgilio using drugs or alcoholic beverages. Had a lunchbox and a sack with clothing in it within the room. He normally leaves the room to talk on the phone with his family. He's not seen Virgilio talking to anyone around the hotel, but has seen him conversing with other individuals at the job site. When they arrived at the hotel from work today around 1900 hours, they were not able to access the room because the room had not been paid for, advising the rent had lapsed. They went and repaid for the room. His brother told him he saw police activity in the area of the hotel from the room and noticed Virgilio was not in the room. He does not talk to Virgilio because he does not understand him as he speaks another dialect. I reviewed Kunovich's body camera with Smith. For any additional details regarding the body camera footage, see the actual footage. Yep. Or Detective Newman's report. Don't look at Detective Newman's report. Look at the actual footage. 127 hours, Jackson. Sergeant James Jackson and I made contact with Virgilio at St. Johns County Jail. The goal was to determine if Virgilio spoke Spanish, and if he did not, to attempt to determine which dialect he spoke. I made contact with Virgilio and spoke Spanish with him. Did you really? I'd like to see that. I informed Virgilio that I was told he did not speak Spanish. However, he replied he did. Was this him just doing his usual acquiescent yes? Like, yeah. I can't wait to see this. I once again verified with Virgilio that he did speak and was able to write Spanish. I asked Virgilio if he was able to speak with me about the incident, and Virgilio said he would. Virgilio was escorted to the Criminal Investigation Division and placed in an interview room. Prior to escorting him, I asked him if he wanted water or anything else, and he responded no. During the interview, Virgilio provided me with his full name as Virgilio Aguilar-Mendez, his date of birth. I once again explained to Virgilio that I had spoken with the individuals who were staying with him at the hotel, and they indicated he was from Guatemala and didn't speak much Spanish. Virgilio stated that he understands Spanish, but there are certain things he doesn't understand. Oh, I understand, but I don't understand. Virgilio stated he understood what the other individuals were talking about, but just did not want to answer or did not want to talk with them. Virgilio told me he spoke the Mom dialect. I once again spoke with Virgilio and explained to him that earlier he told me he spoke and wrote Spanish, and I wanted to make sure he understood me and understood what was going on in the conversation we were going to have. Virgilio stated that he did. Virgilio told me he was from a town called wherever in Guatemala, and I asked him, how was the journey to get over to the U.S.? Virgilio stated he entered the U.S. as a minor, but he does not have an attorney to deal with his immigration status. Virgilio said it took him about 3 months to get from Guatemala to the U.S., and once he entered the U.S., he stayed in immigration custody for 6 months. I explained to Virgilio I wanted to speak with him about the incident that transpired tonight with the deputy and to give me his version of what occurred. I explained to him that he was in custody and I had to read him his rights. I asked him if he had been read his rights before, and he stated he had not. This was the first time he was going to be read his rights, and I explained to him these rights were called Miranda rights. These are the rights a person has when they are going to be questioned about the crime they are alleged to have committed. I read Virgilio his Miranda rights. I asked Virgilio to relax, to get closer to the table, and to read the form with me, which he did. I used a printed St. John County Sheriff's Office form written in Spanish and asked Virgilio if he understood what I was saying after reading the lines. I also asked Virgilio if he understood what I just read to him. So now look at how this has shifted twice here. I read Virgilio his Miranda rights. Okay, so I read them his rights. I asked him if he understood what he was saying after reading the lines. I asked him if he understood what I just read to him. Hang on here. I was thinking something. Give my brain time to catch up with my mouth. Okay. I asked Virgilio to relax, to get closer to the table, and to read the form with me. Oops. Well, I don't need to. I read him. Then I asked him to read them with me, which he did. What does read them with me mean? I don't think it means that he read them out loud. I think it means he just stared at the paper while the officer read them. And I think that's clear from, I asked him if he understood what I just read to him. He didn't actually say, will you read these and explain them to me to make sure he spoke Spanish. He said, here, come here, read these with me. He reads them out loud and says, did you understand those? And gets an answer, probably yes. I asked him if with those rights in mind, he was going to answer questions to clarify what occurred. Virgilio stated he would and signed the Miranda form. The following is a synopsis of Virgilio's statement post Miranda. It should be noted that each time I observed Virgilio to have trouble understanding, or when he appeared to be thinking about what I had asked, I verified he understood what I was saying and what I was asking. Virgilio stated he moved to Florida approximately 8 months ago. Virgilio stated after being released from immigration custody, he moved to Alabama, then to somewhere in Florida. Virgilio stated he wanted to go to school to study, but he does not have an attorney to help him resolve his immigration status. He stated he had an uncle and cousins here in Florida. He stated he does not have an address for his family and is living with Aunt Rosa Aguilar. During our conversation, Virgilio asked why he was apprehended because he was just eating and did not do anything. Well, that's the first valid question of the day, isn't it? I explained to him that this was the reason for our conversation and would be explained to him. Virgilio says, I didn't do anything. They grabbed me and hit me. Well, that sounds about the first believable thing that we've heard all day. Virgilio did not remember what his cousin's name is, the one who'd been staying with in Alabama. Virgilio said once he arrived in Florida, he began working at the farms. In fact, he doesn't remember the name of the cousin he was staying with. Doesn't that kind of make you question him a little bit? Virgilio advised since arriving in Florida, he had spent about 2 weeks calling different attorneys to help him with his immigration status. What? He said they only spoke English and sometimes understood a little of what the attorneys were saying. I'm just calling. We have got to see these interrogation videos because I'm calling bullshit on this story. I find this to be utterly unbelievable. And we'll see what the videos show. We'll see if they prove me wrong at some point. But this seems to really be dumb. Virgilio said he was trying to find an attorney because he has to go to immigration court, but did not find one and/or found one that spoke Spanish. Virgilio said he met these other guys approximately 2 weeks ago when he was contacted by another individual to come to work in St. Augustine. He arrived in St. Augustine approximately 1 week ago on Saturday. He does not know the area and is driven back and forth from the hotel to the farm with the group. He said he gets paid $100, $150, and at times up to $200 per day picking peppers. Virgilio stated he came to St. Augustine because of necessity, and he is paid more here. Otherwise, he would have stayed in Mocali, whatever. He said he only gets paid about $100 per day when working here. He stated on today's date, Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. Sardinisms. Cannot wait till we get the interrogation video. I cannot wait. And I hope we get a translation of it too. It's all in Spanish. Virgilio said on today's date they went to work about 5:30 hours, left work around 1,500 hours, and arrived at the hotel around 1,700 hours. He explained he went downstairs to eat because he does not like to eat upstairs. While eating, he saw the deputy drive by, and then he got up to buy a soda. Virgilio advised another deputy arrived and stopped him. But the deputy, what? Okay. What's redacted here? What could possibly be redacted here? I have no idea. But he did something, but the deputy grabbed him. Virgilio said he has a 6th grade education, learned Spanish at school in Guatemala. Virgilio said he's quit school to work. He stated the other people, went to buy Chinese food at a place approximately 5 or 10 minutes away from the hotel. While everyone was eating, there was no place for him to eat upstairs, so he left the room to eat downstairs at approximately 19 to 2000 hours. He explained he was eating in the area behind the pool. I pulled up a Google Maps overhead of the area on my phone, and Virgilio indicated the area where he was sitting eating. He acknowledged he was very familiar with the area of the hotel. Well, of course he was. He lived there. It should be noted the area Virgilio indicated where he was eating is the area where a styrofoam plate was located at the scene. This is the same area Kunovich would have observed Virgilio near the closed, partially boarded up building in question. Virgilio indicated the deputy thought he was probably smoking, but he was just eating. Virgilio said he was walking to buy a soda at the convenience store. At the convenient store? Come on, cop. When the deputy pulled him up, telling him, wait. No, he didn't pull up telling him to wait. He pulled up, got out of his car, and said, stop! Poor Virgilio. If only he could have explained that in English or Spanish. The store Virgilio alleged to be walking to is east of where he was detained, on the same side of the road where the hotel is located. Virgilio explained one deputy arrived first. That deputy, Kunovich, slipped and fell. Then more deputies arrived and grabbed him, kicked him with force, and he cried but didn't know what happened. I asked Virgilio to explain what occurred and to tell me what happened with the first deputy who stopped him. Virgilio commented, the one who passed out, I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything to him. Virgilio said he understood what the first deputy was telling him. Virgilio kept saying he did not know what happened. I didn't do anything to him. I was not using all my force. I was slowly. Virgilio explained he was afraid, and he almost got up and ran, but the deputy told him no. I asked him, Virgilio, if he was eating, how come he tried to run if he was not doing anything wrong? None of your goddamn business. God, I hate when they do that. Well, why are you trying to do this? Virgilio was not able to explain a reason at this point. So what? Virgilio said the first deputy stopped close to him and asked him, where are you going? And he replied, I went to buy a soda. Well, that's clearly not on the body cam footage. So I wonder if he really understood the question. I wonder if it was, did you tell him you were going to buy a soda? Yes. I wonder, because that's clearly not what was said on the body cam footage. In no way, shape, or form is that what we saw on the body camera footage. Virgilio once again said he understood what the deputy was telling him by saying stop. Virgilio said he was afraid of the deputy and it hurts when the hands are placed behind his back. Virgilio said he did not give permission to the deputy to grab his hands and place them behind him. Virgilio said the deputy did not speak Spanish. I explained to Virgilio there was no reason to be afraid of the deputy if he was not doing anything illegal. Oh, fuck off, cop. Seriously. Just off you fuck. Seriously. There's no reason to be afraid if you're not doing anything illegal. He was not doing any drugs and asked him, do you have any drugs on you? He said he did not have drugs on him, but he used drugs in the past with acquaintances. See, I can see how this is playing out. The question, it wasn't, do you have drugs on you? Oh, I do not have drugs on me now, but I used drugs in the past with acquaintances. Is it something like that? Or do you think it's more of do you have drugs on you? No. Have you used drugs? Yes. With acquaintances? Yes. Are you leading it? Okay. God, I can't wait to see how this all played out. He said he used the drugs before when his acquaintances gave it to him, but he did not know what marijuana was. Implied this was what he doesn't know what marijuana is, but he implied that's what he was given. What the fuck does that even mean? He doesn't know what marijuana is, but he implied that's what he was given. All right. Virgilio said he had not used drugs since arriving in St. Augustine. I asked Virgilio what exactly occurred when the deputy grabbed him. Virgilio said when the deputy grabbed him, he was afraid. Something redacted here. He was afraid to go to jail and his family was worried about him. He denied attempting to take off running. Virgilio kept mentioning the deputy passing out and pointing to the fact he didn't do anything to him. Virgilio said he was tased twice and he almost cried. Gee, Virgilio, My brother, you were tased 6 times at least. Virgilio said something of being tased to get away. Virgilio said from the second deputy, what is redacted and why is this redacted? I can't think of anything that could possibly be in that line there that should be redacted. I confronted Virgilio once again with the fact that if he did not have anything illegal on him, there would not be a reason to be afraid of the deputy, and specifically asked, did you have a weapon? Did you have drugs? Did you have a firearm? Did you have a knife? Virgilio answered no to all of those questions by shaking his head. I then asked what did he have on him? Virgilio answered he had money, his hotel room key card, quarters, and nothing else. See, are you starting to see here how there may not have been a good line of communication between these two officers going? They're saying that he had a knife on him, but here he's telling them I didn't have a knife. Do you think there might be a failure to understand each other at this point? I am going to have to find. I'm going to have to find someone, a very, very good Spanish speaker when these videos come out to walk us through these. I'm gonna have to do that. In response, he didn't have a knife. I asked him why he was using force, not complying, and if he said anything to the deputy. Virgilio said he was afraid, never said anything to the deputy, and now said he did not understand what they were saying. Okay, so see, up here he says, I did understand what they're saying. Allegedly, now he's saying he didn't understand what they were saying. Virgilio said he was talking to his mother in Guatemala when Kunovich contacted him. Virgilio said he told his mother he didn't know why the deputy was coming towards him because he was just eating. Virgilio said he told his mother that the deputies told him to stop or told his something. He explained when the second deputy arrived, he was doing something. I want to know what's been redacted here. After the taser was used, it made him weaker and lost some of his strength. He said something, he stated something, and did not hit anyone, which is true. Virgilio said he just wanted to have his hands freed, and the deputies continued to hold them. He said he was not going to fight with his hands. He said he had never done this before. I told Virgilio that here we have to respect the police, and Virgilio said it's the same in Guatemala. I asked him again why struggle. Virgilio said he did not want to go to jail here and be taken back to Guatemala. Virgilio said he wants to stay in the U.S. to continue to progress. I explained to him that if he is trying to progress in the U.S., why struggle? Oh, this cop, I fucking hate these questions. I really do. I told him that I have stopped with thousands of individuals on the street, just as Kunovich stopped with him. Oh, great. So you've made thousands of illegal Terry stops, have you? And yes, in my opinion, it was an absolutely unlawful Terry stop. I can't, by any stretch of the imagination, figure out how that could possibly have been a valid Terry stop, and especially the frisking shit. I mean, that's right out. I had conversations with him, and if you don't have anything illegal on your person, then there's nothing to be afraid of. Virgilio agreed, and I followed up by asking why he put up a struggle. Virgilio said something. Virgilio did not want to go to jail because he wants to stay in the U.S. and not go back to Guatemala. Virgilio stated he has heard of immigration enforcement arresting people. I acknowledged Kunovich was in uniform. The fact his uniform was not an immigration officer. What? I asked Virgilio why did he struggle so much to get freed. He replied that he did not struggle a lot with Sergeant Kunovich, but he explained something. Why are we just redacting all of the stuff that he's explaining? Virgilio said he wanted to leave. He did not want to be here, referencing to being in custody, wanted to be freed, not making reference to the interview. It should be noted Virgilio was not forthcoming about having the knife on his person when encountered by Sergeant Kunovich, as well as the fact he removed the knife from his pocket after being placed in handcuffs. It was apparent Virgilio was minimizing his role in the encounter, or he didn't understand what we were fucking saying, one of the two, or some points in between. After a short break in the interview, I returned to confront Virgilio with the facts of the knife. And we're not going to get any of it because it's all redacted. Virgilio said he had something and hotel. What is in here? Had something and hotel key in his left pocket, cell phone and money in his right pocket. Said something from his pocket after being handcuffed because he wanted to something and not show it to the deputies. He removed the knife. Why? If it says if Virgilio said he took the knife from his pocket, why is that redacted? I am not understanding these redactions at all. None of this makes any sense to me. None of these redactions make sense. He said he was not going to harm deputies something. He uses the... Okay, this one I know what it is. He uses the knife for cutting fruit at work. That was earlier on. So why would you redact? He said he uses... So they're redacting his logical explanations from this. This is what I'm beginning to see from this. For some reason, they're redacting all of his logical explanations for things. This is weird. This is totally sus to me. I need this explained because this makes zero sense to me. He stated he did not tell me about the knife because he was afraid. Virgilio said the knife. Why are they redacting the word knife when he says he's confronting him about removing the knife? Why the fuck is this being redacted? This is ridiculous. I do not understand this, and it frustrates me that I don't understand this. It frustrates me. I have no idea why this is being redacted. He said he forgot to leave the knife. I don't get it. I asked Virgilio if the knife was the reason he resisted Kunovich. He replied no. He stated his right arm was out of its socket a couple of weeks ago. Yikes. All right, we're coming close to the end here. I asked Virgilio if I could answer any questions for him. He replied by saying he just wanted to leave here and go back to the hotel to meet with the other guys. This is a similar statement to the one previously outlined in this report. At no point was the statement in reference to the interview or the questions being asked of him. Well, how do you know that? I explained to Virgilio he was under arrest once again. Virgilio commented about the fact that deputies believe he was trying to hurt them, but he wasn't. I told Virgilio that if he had just cooperated with the deputies, he probably would be sleeping in his bedroom at this time. Virgilio replied he does not know what occurred and only God is watching. Virgilio continued to ask to let him leave because he wanted to go to work tomorrow. Does that sound like a guy who understood the program? Does that sound like a guy who understood that he's being charged with, at this point, it was felony murder. At this point, it was felony murder of a police officer he was charged with. Does this sound like someone who's been like, why did you resist arrest? You've killed this police officer. You're being charged with felony murder. Okay, so can I go to work tomorrow? Does that sound like a guy who has any clue whatsoever about what's happening around him? Just that one statement here seemed to call all of this bullshit of a report into question. It's like, I just want to go. Can I go home now? Because I got to get up early for work. To me, I'm saying that shows that he didn't really understand or appreciate much, if anything, that was discussed during this interview. Good Lord. The interview concluded around 02:38 hours. For specific details or specific statements, please refer to the recording. Oh, God, I want this recording more than anything else right now. It should be noted after the completion of the interview, a search warrant was executed on Virgilio's person to collect evidence such as photos, clothing, fingernail scrapings, major case prints, etc., which we heard about earlier. Then he was returned to jail. I met with Homeland Security Investigations Special Agent Craich at the jail and assisted Craich with an immigration administration interview of Virgilio. During the interview, Virgilio provided similar information that he had provided to me earlier regarding his immigration status. However, clarified that he crossed into the U.S. from Mexico and later taken into custody by ICE. It should be noted a different date of birth was also provided to immigration when he was taken into custody. Fine, there you go. This is even more confusing. Craich and I traveled to Parker Farms and met with De Leon, who is identified as the individual who keeps track of the truckloads, number of boxes picked up by the group of individuals. He indicated he remembers them. He indicated he told him about Virgilio being involved in an incident with law enforcement. However, he has not provided any details about the incident. Wow. You guys hear the dog snoring? The dogs are snoring up a storm. I actually tried to adjust the mic. I've adjusted some of the microphone settings to try to block out some of the peripheral dog noises. I don't know if you can hear the dog snoring or not. I hope not, because then it'll be mission accomplished. But they're snoring pretty hard. All right. James Jackson. Oh, good. No, you can't hear the dogs. That's good, because I think I've fixed all of the dog noises. We'll see how it goes later. I was notified by Lieutenant Jose Jimenez of an incident involving Kunovich. Went to Flagler Hospital. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. Contacted the forensics manager, Angela Hosford, and briefed her on the incident. Approximately 22:50 hours, I arrived on the scene, met with Captain Smith, Lieutenant Jimenez, and all these others. I was advised Kunovich checked out on the radio. Okay, let's find if this is anything relevant in here. Responded to the scene, eventually able to secure Virgilio. I was advised fire and rescue responded to the scene. Kunovich shortly after. Advised Kunovich outer vest carrier and duty belt had been removed. Okay, this is just about him dropping dead here, I guess. I was informed Virgilio had been transported to the county jail. I assigned Detective Newman as a lead investigator. What is the point of this? I got there and I listened to everybody's story. I appointed the lead investigator. All right, cool. Peace. Okay, nothing really exciting here. Nothing that hasn't been talked about. They collected his clothes and stuff. Canvassed the motel for surveillance videos. All right, this is just attended the autopsy. And that looks like we're at the end here. We are at the end. No, we do not want to do that. Whew. Well, we got through that with 12 minutes to spare. This is just a bad deal. This is just a bad deal all the way around. Cops never should have bothered the kid. Certainly should never have touched the kid. Should never have got to this point. Should never have been arrested. It was a freak accident, and I don't. He was never charged with trespassing. He was originally charged with felony murder. That was downgraded to aggravated manslaughter when they realized they couldn't possibly convict him of felony murder. So they tried the next best thing, I guess. Well, right now we've hit a huge holding pattern in this case. So from what I understand, this is gonna be paused about 6 months, because now, as we read in the order at the beginning, they've got to go through this process of trying to make him competent to stand trial. And unless something happens within the next 6 months, my understanding is that the next competency hearing will be 6 months from now. All righty then. If any, but as things become available, as I find things, as we search for things and things pop up, I will be happy to let you know about them. And if you guys come across anything, please let me know, and we'll also talk about those. And Carlos 247 says, interested to hear Steve G's opinion as a constitutional liberal, because if I was an American, that's what I'd be. Also, do cops do a yearly medical? You'd think they should, but you won't hear Steve G's opinion on this in any way, shape, or form, because he is assisting with the trial counsel. That's all he can say about it. And Vince Clortho, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I've had personal experiences where one guy on the third shift had 200 plus non-English speakers, $25 a month. Glad Sears caught the guy. People suck. Right. People do suck. I can't argue with that. Which is, I don't understand. Even if they make him competent, he was still deemed incompetent at the time. Okay, hang on just a second here. He was unable to assist with his defense. It's not a mental deficiency. It's an intellectual incompetency. And so it's like he can't actively assist with his own defense at this point in time, but with proper language training, cultural training, I guess theoretically, civics training about the judicial system, how the adversarial prosecutor system works, et cetera, about the crimes and whatnot. If they can get him to understand everything, they can educate him and get him to understand things, then he'll be competent to assist with the defense and be found competent. And so I guess when you're talking about mental incompetence, like we did with the Taylor business trial, there's several layers of it. There's not guilty by reason of insanity, where you did it, but you didn't appreciate it was a crime. You didn't. That's at the time. At the time you committed the crime, you didn't understand it was a crime. You didn't know it was an illegal thing to do. That's not guilty by reason of insanity. You did it. You're not denying you did it. You just were too crazy to understand it was a crime. But if you plead you're not competent to stand trial, then you have to go to a psychiatric hospital and do all this treatment. And once you're sane enough to understand the proceedings, then you can go to trial and argue that it should be not guilty by reasons of insanity. So yeah, there's different types of incompetency, and the not guilty by reason of insanity is a completely separate thing. So they're just saying he doesn't understand it now, so let's educate him and bring him up to speed and get him competent. Then he can tell us what really happened. He can assist his lawyers with his defense, and we can get to the bottom of this. I hope that made sense, because it's kind of the best I can do at this point off the top of my head at nearly 1 a.m. Well, folks, it's an interesting end to the case. For now, we're just pushing a big pause button here, and we'll have to keep monitoring it and see how it goes. Like I said, if I hear anything, I'll let you know. If you guys hear anything and you haven't heard me report on it within a day or so, hit me up, let me know, and we'll see if there's enough there to talk about. And on that note, we're going to send you off somewhere else, because I'm going to go to sleep. And but first, let me find out where we can send you. Then I'll give you a rundown of what to expect for the remainder of this week. We got some very special things coming up here in the next couple of days, so stand by for that. Let's see where we can send people. I believe 1 a.m. Okay, good. Megan Fox is going to be talking about the latest fuckery from the defense lawyers in the J. Hatch Take Care of Maya case. That'll be starting here. That's where we're going to send you, because she's going to do it first, and then I will do the same thing tomorrow. I'm going to go through the defense motion to expand their questioning of juror number 1, and to their last ditch effort to drag in juror number 1's wife for additional in-depth questioning. And I'll do that tomorrow at the same time from 9 a.m. Eastern, 11 to 11 a.m. Eastern, which is 2 p.m. to 4 a.m. UK time. We'll do that. And then the actual hearing with the interview starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is like 5 a.m. my time. So let me first set this up to set it on over to Megan. And then I'll tell you what's coming up through the end of the week. Like, it's some really interesting stuff, some really fun stuff, some really special guests, content live. And while I'm doing this, you all can take that time to make sure that you've liked and subscribed. We've got 479 people here watching and 484 likes. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. We've got a new member out of this and everything. So while I'm doing this, make sure you've hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. So you can stay up on this case, the take care of Maya case, the Maya Kowalski case, the YNW Melly double murders, Sarah Boone, if that thing ever goes down, Courtney Clenny, if that ever goes down. We got a lot of stuff we're going to be covering right here, as well as Maritime Monday and other historical cases. Not something you want to miss, because we're the coolest channel on the entire YouTube. So, and if you don't agree with that, I just can't help you. You're just beyond help. All right, add. Mergen Ferks, where are you, Mergen? Why is Megan not showing up here? Let me search. Megan. Fox, there we go. And I have to cough. Hang on. Hello again. All right, we are set to go. Let's save that and lock that in. And boom. All right, we're going to wrap this up right now. Tomorrow, like I said, for the regular time, 9 a.m. Eastern to 11 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be going over the new submission from the defense, where they want to ask more questions of juror number one, ask questions of his wife as well. And we're also going to be looking at the defense. The plaintiffs. They dropped a very interesting affidavit that frankly calls the entire defense team intentional liars. Stay tuned for that tomorrow. And then after a couple of hours after I finish, they're actually going to get into the hearing with the juror, asking the questions. And then on Thursday, today's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday, and Thursday, Chandler Remington and I will be doing our OJ stream every week where we do our OJ Simpson thing. We're doing the closing arguments right now. Johnny Cochran should be up to give his closing arguments probably by the end of the show tomorrow, by Thursday. And then as soon as we finish the OJ, we're going to start another old trial. It's going to be really, really fascinating. We'll cover that beginning to end. But then the fun stuff happens. Friday, we'll watch the take care of Maya, the Maya Kowalski hearing of the questioning of juror number one. We'll watch that. And then Saturday evening, U.S. time, there will be a very special Legal Vices stream. It'll be Whiskey Day. A lot of you have been asking for a stream on what is whiskey and how do you drink it. So we're going to be doing that, but I'm also going to be having a very special guest join me right here live in studio, a dear friend of mine who has written for several whiskey magazines, who is an expert in bourbons. She will be joining me here, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what is whiskey, the different kinds of whiskey, and how to go about tasting and enjoying it. It should be a good fun time. She happens to be just popping over here for a bit from China, and I'm going to put her to work. She's going to be helping me with the whiskey stream. So do not miss Friday evening. Probably start around 7 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday evening. And if you want to follow along at home, I'll be announcing tomorrow what whiskey we're going to be tasting most of the time. No, she's not Chinese. She's from America. She just lives in China. She's visiting here. So, we're probably going to be either doing a Basil Hayden's or Elijah Craig small batch. So we're probably doing one of those two whiskeys so if you want to follow along and taste the whiskey with us, I'll let you know tomorrow. And so if you want to buy a bottle and play along at home, you're welcome to do that. Not required. So there we go. That'll be Saturday night U.S. time, a very, very special whiskey stream. What is it and how to drink it? And then we may also do a member stream some point next week or the following weekend. So there we go. That's it. That is the show for tonight. Let's go over and see what Megan Fox is doing. I stalled long enough for her to start. She's starting right now. So I'm going to send you all over there. Mods, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for everything you did last year. And I look forward to sticking with you, mods, throughout this year. Thank you so much for being here. Chat, thank you. The greatest chat on the internet. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your subscriptions, your super chats, for being here and saying hi. Until tomorrow, when we talk about the Maya Kowalski trial. Legal Vices saying take care, and whatever you do, just make sure you're enjoying Legal Vices. RX out.